Good morning, TaShun. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Coach Melkecia. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for sending over, or do you first, before I get into it, do you mind if we record this session?
No, I don't mind. That's fine.
All right, thank you so much. I know
Mm-hmm.
you sent over your agenda ahead of time and you're
Hmm.
wanting to talk about ways to increase your patience.
Yes.
All right, and you still want to
Hmm.
keep that topic.
I do.
What specific things about patience is your focus today?
I really just have a short fuse, and I need to get better with that across the board. Because I feel the tension, like when I get upset or if I easily go from 1 to 10.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
feel it in my shoulders. I feel it everywhere.
mhm.
And stress will manifest physically at some point.
Okay.
And, I just want to really get more patience, increase it, get better at it because
Mhm,
it's just needed. Things are not going
mhm,
to always be on my timetable.
mhm,
And I know from just in my lifetime, right?
mhm,
Just how things have played out. Boy, I tell you,
mhm,
if things had worked the way I wanted to when I wanted them to,
mhm,
I'd be a different woman right now. But they
mhm,
didn't, and that there's a reason for that. There's just a reason for
mhm,
that, and I just need
mhm,
to keep that top of mind that
mhm,
when things don't go my way, or if someone will act right, because I have a little
mhm.
child too, and ooh, sometimes she tests my patience. She does, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, let me
Yeah.
get myself in check here.
Mhm,
And so I just want to be better all around, just knowing that, because I do know that things will happen when they're supposed to, but it's just the urge to have it happen right then and there
mhm,
is it's just constant for me.
mhm.
Like I told my daughter this morning, uh what did she do? She was talking back. And I was like, who you talking to? You know
Mhm,
what I mean? And she's a good girl, but I
mhm,
just kind of, because she's getting older, right? And I just
mhm,
want to make sure that she understands, well, no, she understands that she recognizes that what she says and how she says it affects other people, especially me. But I
mhm,
have to be the one to take a moment because I always talk to her about breathing, like we just did before we started everything.
mhm.
Take a moment to breathe, collect yourself, because it does calm me down, and I see it calms her down too.
Okay.
So it was just like, yeah, like this morning I caught myself. So I was like, what'd you say? You know what I mean? And I was like, okay. Because there's a way to correct her without
Mhm,
getting really upset or really frustrated, because she still needs
mhm,
correction. She needs to know that you don't speak that way or you don't talk that way. But then when
mhm,
I quickly go like, then she sees that I'm saying one thing to her, but I'm not practicing it myself. Right.
mhm,
And so I just need to increase my patience because I do
mhm.
want to model that for her. It's important. This morning, I was like, I know you didn't say that. And I'm like, again, I have to correct her because she has to know
Okay.
right from wrong and understand that she needs to do whatever. But I also have to, in my delivery, I'll say, I have to be
Okay.
more patient in trying to make sure that when I'm saying something to her or making sure that she's understanding that what she did was not appropriate,
Mhm,
that I'm better at it. So she really does get it and not,
mhm.
be like, well, mommy, fly off the handle in moments notice too, that kind of thing.
Okay. And thank you for sharing that example and explaining a little bit further um, what the struggle and how the stress of not being patient, how it weighs on you. As
Hmm.
you provided a picture that is just, you feel it sitting on
Hmm.
you and the
Yeah.
tightness that it provides. And then the example of modeling and
Hmm.
mirroring and,
Hmm.
with your child mirroring some of what you're experiencing.
Hmm.
And so that was a question that was stemming in my head before you mentioned it.
Yes.
Is there an early picture, if you can think back to even as young as your daughter,
Hmm.
um, that you felt your patience was tested? As you think about it,
Hmm. Yes.
what would have been the stem of it, and why do you think you
Hmm.
react without patience?
Sure. And I'm thinking back now that it was junior high school actually. And because we have proms here. Some people have ring dances, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and we have proms here. And I was like, oh God, nobody's asked me to the prom yet.
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to my prom. And because it was my junior prom, because we had junior and senior prom. So my junior
Hmm.
prom, the first one, and time is ticking, and oh my goodness. And so I was like stressed, about the fact I have not been asked to the prom. And you know, that comes to my mind initially because I mean I remember how I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I talked to my mom, I was like, Mom, the prom is coming, I don't have nobody's asking me, and she's like, give it time, there's still time, there's time. Um, and it did work out. It did,
Hmm.
actually a guy that I actually thought was really cute, he ended up asking me.
Okay.
Um, and the sense of relief, right? Not only because he asked, but also because he was cute. And I was like, okay. But I just remember just the feeling of like, oh, even though there was still time,
Hmm.
um, you know, I felt pressed about it. And if I was just more patient with myself and letting this process play out and believing that, hey, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me. Someone's going to ask me to the prom. And that's a really clear picture in my mind.
Okay.
And so that comes to mind that I should have just
Okay.
been more patient.
And so knowing, that there's a process and you explained it. You already in your lap before you told your scenario, you already said, I know I can't, basically I have to wait, and you've
Yeah.
seen how things process out. You told your daughter to breathe through it, and it's important for you
Mhm.
to show that and also teach that. And your mom in
Mhm.
your scenario was your guide
Yeah.
through the process. And so if you can use that voice,
Mm.
you know, uh, even though you learned it from your mother,
Yes.
now you are a mother and you're using
Yes.
that voice for your daughter. So the voice that
Mhm.
you've established, how would you coach yourself?
I would stop, breathe, take a moment to really think about the past times where things have worked out. It may not have worked out when I wanted it exactly at that moment, but they
Mhm.
worked out for my good.
Mhm.
Like the word says, right? But it's going to work out for my good.
Mhm.
But just remember that. And I just need to remember that. That's really what it comes down to, Coach Melkecia, because I,
Mhm.
get caught up sometimes in like not thinking about it is going to work out because it already has worked out prior
Mhm.
to countless times in all different areas of
Mhm.
my life. I mean, literally all areas of my life.
Mhm.
Um, but I guess it's just, and I guess that's how she is too, sometimes too, right? Because she
Mhm.
will say something and not or react. I guess
Mhm.
also react to in a way, and
Mhm.
I'm like, wait a minute now. Um, but so we're alike in that way, and
Mhm.
she's so young still, and I want her to be able to really use those tools
Mhm.
to change her course now. so that she just
Mhm.
stops. And I said that to her this morning too. And I dropped her off to school. I was like, okay, because I recapped the morning. I was like, okay, now you know that you have to breathe and stop. I said, stop. Take a moment to think before you say or do something. And she was like, yeah, mommy, I know. And I was like, it's like, no, I'm serious. Because sometimes she'll like placate me.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm serious.
Mhm.
You got to stop before you open your mouth, before you do something,
Mhm.
and think about, okay, is this what how I should be reacting, how I should be
Mhm.
saying something? And I need to take my own advice. I do,
Okay.
so that she sees more of that from me as well too.
Mhm.
Because, going back to like the whole junior prom thing, which was
Mhm.
decades ago now, but still, my mom was really preaching about. She was like, "Just wait, it's gonna all work out. You got plenty of time." And at the time, I was like, "Oh my God, no, it's not." But she was right. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's true that she modeled that for me. Just hold on,
Mhm.
just stop.
Mhm.
It's gonna be okay. You got it. You got it.
I got a couple of things coming up for
Mhm.
me that one is do you recognize the times that your patience is a lot shorter? And what are those times?
Yes. A few that come to mind right now are with my daughter, because I
Mhm.
just expect her to like, come on, come on. But my
Mhm.
daughter also, um, when have a personal goal for myself
Mhm.
and I want it to manifest quickly,
Mhm.
and those two come to mind. My personal goals, and then my dealing with my daughter, because I want her to, um, I want her to be better than me. That's what it really comes down to. I
Mhm.
honestly do. Uh, you know, it, I we all are flawed. That's just what it is. But I just want her, and I'm sure my mom felt the same way. I want her to not have to go through some of the things that I went through needlessly, that wasted time, and some of the things that I could have done differently. So, yeah, those two areas for sure. Mhm.
Okay. So I'd say there were two things, but now one is coming up with this. So fear.
Mm,
How does fear play a
mm,
part in that?
mhm. When it comes to my child, I guess, not I guess, it's a lot. It's a big because really, I only have one,
Mhm.
and she's my biggest, greatest blessing.
Mhm.
And I just want her to experience things and to be a part of things and to take it all in. And yes, that fear, I think with her is huge. No, I know is huge.
Mhm.
Just sometimes, she'll say like, Mommy, I got it, and I'm thinking, yeah, you do, but I'm thinking, oh my God, but she's still little.
Mhm.
But independence is important, right? We have to have our children be able to do certain things, like even, walking around in the store, I have so a tendency to kind of just take her hand. And she's like, Mommy, I got it. I'm right here. And she's right, right? And now if she was like walking, all ahead of me, that's something different, but she is right there. I don't need for her to hold my hand when she's right there. I can see her. I can touch her. She's right there.
Mhm.
But again, just being overly protective and being like,
Mhm.
okay. Um, and what's coming to me right now is that my fears she will absorb those too. And I don't want her to live in fear, right?
Mhm.
Um, she doesn't have to, I mean, you have to be cautious now, clearly, but she doesn't
Mhm.
have to always do it my way. Because again, I want her to do it her way,
Mhm.
which is hopefully a better way, but I don't want her to be fearful either. I want her to be cautious.
Mm-hmm.
and be safe, but that doesn't necessarily mean she has to be afraid. Yeah. I just don't want her to have, I don't want to impose those fears upon her to have those kind of
Mm-hmm.
fears either.
Okay.
Caution is different than fear. Safety is different
Mm-hmm.
than fear.
Okay. Okay. And
Mhm.
with acknowledging that, with the fear and projecting that and being cautious of projecting fear as it comes into play with your patients,
Mm.
what is something that you can do to combat that?
Remember the word of the Lord because he talks to us about that. He tells us that we don't have a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And if I keep that in my mind, I will have more patience. I will be able to handle myself in a way where my faith leads, not my fear. And so being patient and knowing that delay isn't a denial, as they say, and that God is working because He always is. He never sleeps. He always is working. He's always there. That would be a great way just to increase my patience. So by remembering who I am and whose I am, that alone will break down those barriers right there for me and increase my patience. Because God has pulled me through, Coach Melkecia, so many times, like I said, countless times. So there is nothing He can't do. Yeah.
And I mentioned two words and then I gave an extra word. So the last word that I didn't share was grace. And so, how is God's grace and His patience evident in your life because you bring God up?
Yeah. I am a walking, breathing testimony of God's grace. Because I have made mistakes. I have uh, said things I shouldn't have said. I have been rude sometimes. Um, but yet God gave me another chance. He has. And I said to my daughter this morning too, before I dropped her off, we were in the car. I said, we talked about, okay, you got to stop and think before you say something or do something. I said, it's time for reset now. It's a new day.
Hmm.
So let's start this morning off again the right way. And that's what I need to remember too, that God has bestowed upon me so much grace that He gives me opportunity each and every time I wake up to be better and start again. And when it comes to my patience, to increase that by just letting Him work, and trusting that what I want for my personal goal is going to happen. And that when it comes to my child, not to be so fearful and to remember how I'm saying and doing things. Because again, she's a sponge and she's going to mimic what her mama does. You know what I mean? That kind of a
Hmm.
thing. So, yeah, that would be how God's grace plays a significant role in increasing my patience.
And so, with all of that being said,
Mhm.
and our time wrapping up,
Yeah.
what is something you want to take away from our talk today?
That patience is a part of the fruit of the Spirit. It's one of the parts. And it all connects back to the Lord, like everything else does in life, in my life at least. And so when I want to increase my patience, I need to stop, breathe, and think about God. Give it to Him, really, and let things flow naturally because there's a plan for my life that He already has predestined for me. That's that's really what it is. I need to think about that and remember that.
All right. It's been a pleasure. talking with you today and hear you come to some understanding of your patience and how that is increasing for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I
You're
will talk
welcome.
with you soon.
All right, have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Bye.